it's a mask when you use it, you throw it. Because some brothers think that I could use it and leave it behind me, someone else will use it. No, it's not in that way. And no, you may have the virus, you may not have, but that mask is only for individual, for one person. Subhanallah. So it cannot be used by other people, subhanallah. Okay, going back again to what we were talking about, inshallah, for the last few weeks we have been studying Surah Saba. And inshallah today we'll be continuing from the ayahs number, I think 21 or 22. Yes. Starting when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَلَقَدْ صَدَّقَ عَلَيْهِمْ إِبْلِيسُ ظَنَّهُ فَاتَّبَعُوهُ إِلَّا فَرِيقًا مِنَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ وَمَا كَانَ لَهُ عَلَيْهِمْ مِنْ سُلْطَانٍ إِلَّا لِنَعْلَمَ مَنْ يُؤْمِنُ بِالْآخِرَةِ مِمَّنْ هُوَ مِنْهَا فِي شَكٍّ وَرَبُّكَ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ حَفِيظٌ قُلِ ادْعُوا الَّذِينَ زَعَمْتُم مِّن دُونِ اللَّهِ لا يملكون مثقال ذرة في السماوات ولا في الأرض وما لهم فيها من شرك وما له منهم من ظهير ولا تنفع الشفاعة عنده إلا لمن آذن له حتى إذا فزع عن قلوبهم قالوا ماذا قال ربكم قالوا الحق وهو العلي الكبير قل من يرزقكم من السماوات والأرض قل الله وإنا أو إياكم لعلى هدى أو في ضلال مبين قل لا تسألون عما أجرمنا ولا نسأل عما تعملون قل يجمع بيننا ربنا ثم يفتح بيننا بالحق وهو الفتاح العليم صدق الله العظيم. Last week we were talking about this conversation or talk that the kuffar had with the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam in many circumstances and many times. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the beginning of this ayah number 20 said, وَلَقَدْ صَدَّقَ عَلَيْهِمْ إِبْلِيسُ ظَنَّهُ فَاتَّبَعُوهُ إِلَّا فَرِيقًا مِنَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. We know that Iblis, in the very first time when he had the issue with Adam alayhi salam, he made a promise to himself and to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he said, I will be going after the children of Adam, and I will not let any of them go. I will come from the right, from the left, from the front, from the back, from anywhere. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, لَقَدْ صَدَّقَ عَلَيْهِمْ إِبْلِيسُ ظَنَّهُ. That's the thought of Iblis, that's what he want to do, and that's what he did. So he was after those human beings, those children of Adam, until some of them, they believed in him and they followed him. إِلَّا فَرِيقًا مِنَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. Except a group of the believers. Shaitan doesn't have access on them, or could not do anything for them, could not misguide them, or even if he is able to misguide them, they were able to come back. And that's always acceptable from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَمَا كَانَ لَهُ عَلَيْهِمْ مِنْ سُلْطَانٍ. And this is a very important point, that sultan means power, authority. So Allah said, Shaitan does not have an authority over you, doesn't have a power over you. Because most of the time what we do, we say, it's the Shaitan who made me doing this. It's like you have no quwwah, you have no power. You are just like a little machine, and the Shaitan push the button and then it works. No, it doesn't work in that way. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He gave you the free will, and He sent you the book and the instructions, and He told you this is the good, this is the bad. Not only that, He told us that the Shaitan will be after us. So He warned us through the Quran, through the Ahadith, through the experience of the so all that is there. So there's no way that you're going to blame the Shaitan. Otherwise we're going to say, you know what? A human being is only musayyar. Wasn't musayyar? He's being, manipulated, if you're, or he's being operated. Shaitan is operating him, and he tells him, do this, and he will do it. And we know that's not true. We know that inside of us, we feel the free will. That when you do well, and you know it, you feel like you did well, and you are happy with that. And you are proud of yourself, and you're expecting the reward. And when you do bad, you feel guilty also. And you know that you did bad, and you are also thinking that you deserve to be punished. So Shaitan said, I don't have sultan over them. I call them only, and they answer to me. And that's actually the truth. The Shaitan, what he does, he whispers in our mind, and we follow him. Some people, when the Shaitan whisper in their mind, right, what they will say, A'udhu billahi min shaitanir rajim. Or they will not let the Shaitan whisper in their mind. They will reject the idea. Just like an idea of backbiting, which is one of the diseases that is very difficult to control. A person that has, when a person starts talking to you, say, brother, I don't want to listen to this, with all respect. And some, he enjoy listening to it. Let me know, let me see. Probably he has something. With that, let me see, you are opening the doors of the Shaitan. Remember what Adam, and how Adam was manipulated at the first point. What the Shaitan told him. هل أدلك على شجرة الخلد وملك لا يفنى? He said, do you want me to show you what? شجرة الخلد, the tree of eternity. Once you eat from it, you will never die. That's what he told him. First, he just said, would you like? He said, yes. Okay, the same thing again. Going back again, Shaitan does not have a sultan over you. Doesn't have power over you, but you are the one who will open the doors for him. That's number one. Number two, just like again, we're talking about the virus and how the virus penetrates in the body of the human being. Either you are not protected, or you expose yourself to the virus, or you're not taking no precautions. And now we're talking about the vaccine. So the vaccine against the Shaitan, we know what is it? It is the Quran and the Salat on the proper time, and the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah mentioned that in the Quran. Otherwise, Shaitan still does not have any power or authority over you, subhanallah. Going back to the ayah. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَمَا كَانَ لَهُ عَلَيْهِمْ مِنْ سُلْطَانٍ. He did not have a sultan over them. إِلَّا لِنَعْلَمَ مَنْ يُؤْمِنُ بِالْآخِرَةِ مِمَّنْ هُوَ مِنْهَا فِي شَكٍّ. Except those that you may have even doubt about the akhirah. And that's how the Shaitan enters your door. When you start having doubt about what? It's not only about the akhirah, about Allah himself. Question of rizq. Once you start questioning rizq, how it's going to happen, Shaitan enters there. Shaitan is there always, subhanallah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَرَبُّكَ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ حَفِيظٍ. And your Lord, He is the one. He is the one actually has the power to do hifd for you, to protect you. And who is one also who is keeping everything in a book, which is, it will never be destroyed. It will always stay there, our good deed and our bad deeds. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, قُلْ ادْعُوا الَّذِينَ زَعَمْتُم مِّن دُونِ اللَّهِ. Okay. Call those that you have them as partners beside Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Call them. لا يملكون مثقال ذرة في السماوات ولا في الأرض. They don't own anything in this universe. Talking about the gods that the idol worshippers used to worship. Or talking about any god at any moment and any time. Any of those gods, a human being or whatever you call it, that person, if he owes something, it probably for a certain period of time, and then he will lose it after he dies. It's not his property anymore. He may lose it, subhanAllah. It will go to someone else. And so on. وَمَا لَهُمْ فِيهَا مِنْ شِرْكٍ. And definitely, they don't own those things beside Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَمَا لَهُ مِنْهُمْ مِنْ ظَهِيرٍ. And there's no one who's going to support them. There's no one who's going to be with them to help them. And we come into the ayah, which will take more of the time of this session. وَلَا تَنْفَعُ الشَّفَاعَةُ عِنْدَهُ. وَلَا تَنْفَعُ الشَّفَاعَةُ عِنْدَهُ إِلَّا لِمَنْ أَذِنَ لَهُ. And the shafa'a, it will not benefit at the moment once you're facing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, except for those that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He allowed them or He gave them permission. And the question of shafa'a, it's a big question among the Muslims and among the groups of the Muslims, subhanallah. And what does it mean, shafa'a, by the way? Does shafa'a exist or it does not exist? You may be very surprised that in many ayahs of the Quran, it denies shafa'a. Like in Surah Al-Baqarah, we have two ayahs when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَاتَّقُوا يَوْمًا لَا تَجْزِي نَفْسٌ عَنْ نَفْسٍ شَيْئًا وَلَا يُقْبَلُ مِنْهَا شَفَاعَةٌ وَلَا يُؤْخَذُ مِنْهَا عَدْلٌ وَلَا هُمْ يُنصَرُونَ. Ayah number 48, it says, and fear a day, وَاتَّقُوا يَوْمًا لَا تَجْزِي نَفْسٌ عَنْ نَفْسٍ شَيْئًا. Any soul cannot do anything for the other one. وَلَا يُقْبَلُ مِنْهَا شَفَاعَةٌ. And there's no shafa'a that will be accepted from them. وَلَا يُؤْخَذُ مِنْهَا عَدْلٌ. And we will not take from them any kind of compensation, subhanallah. وَلَا هُمْ يُنصَرُونَ. And they will not be given any victory. Same in Surah Al-Baqarah, ayah number 123. It's the same style, but in a different way. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَاتَّقُوا يَوْمًا لَا تَجْزِي نَفْسٌ عَنْ نَفْسٍ شَيْئًا وَلَا يُقْبَلُ مِنْهَا عَدْلٌ. The first one, it says, وَلَا يُقْبَلُ مِنْهَا شَفَاعَةٌ. The second one, it says, وَلَا يُقْبَلُ مِنْهَا عَدْلٌ وَلَا تَنْفَعُهَا شَفَاعَةٌ. And shafa'a will not benefit, subhanallah. And some of the mustashriqeen, the Westerns who study the Quran, they said, it's a kind of game. Quran, in one place in the Quran, in Surah Al-Baqarah, first he said, shafa'a will not be accepted, nothing will be taken from them. The other one, he said the opposite, nothing will be accepted from them, shafa'a will not benefit. Again, it's just a question of understanding the language. And this is one big issue. If the language is not understood properly, there is no way for you to have an access to understand this Quran. Yes, if you're reading translation, so you're reading the understanding of somebody else. So the first ayah going over here, just touching this part, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, there's two people, the الشافع والمشفوع له, the person who will give the shafa'a and the person who will receive the shafa'a. In the first ayah, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَاتَّقُوا يَوْمًا لَا تَجْزِي نَفْسٌ عَنْ نَفْسٍ شَيْئًا وَلَا يُقْبَلُ مِنْهَا شَفَاعَةٌ. It talks about who? The shafi', the one who wants to give shafa'a. Let's say I want to give shafa'a to someone on that day, right? So Allah said, fear a day that shafa'a will not be accepted from you to be given to someone. وَلَا يُقْبَلُ مِنْهَا عَدْلٌ. And even if I want to give some of my good deeds to someone, Allah is saying, I'm not going to accept that from you. So the other ayah, which is 123, it talks about the opposite, the mashfu' ilah. It is the person who actually is seeking shafa'a. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَلَا يُقْبَلُ مِنْهَا عَدْلٌ. I am the one who's looking for shafa'a. So what I'm going to do, okay, let me find something that I could give so I could receive the shafa'a. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَلَا تَنْفَعُهَا شَفَاعَةٌ. And shafa'a will not benefit you. You're looking for someone that he may be qualified to give shafa'a, but still that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not going to accept from him. Now, the concept of shafa'a itself. Do we have shafa'a in Islam? Yes, we do have shafa'a in Islam. And the Quran talks about it. And the Quran said in many places that shafa'a will be granted. مَنْ ذَا الَّذِي يَشْفَعُ عِنْدَهُ إِلَّا بِإِذْنِهِ. Who will give shafa'a except with the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the Quran talks about it. And also in another place, وَلَا يَشْفَعُونَ إِلَّا لِمَنْ يَرْتَضَى وَهُمْ مِنْ خَشْيَتِهِ مُشْفِقُونَ. And the shafa'a will not be accepted except from those that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is pleased with. Right? And talking about angels, subhanallah, that they may give shafa'a. Then we have the hadith of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam that told us about the shafa'a of who? Shafa'a of Anbiya, that they could do shafa'a. Shafa'a of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Shafa'a of the shaheed. Shafa'a of the, subhanallah. Let me go over it. So there are many of the cases of the shafa'a that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about it. So we said that many people could give the shafa'ah. There is a group among the Muslims, and they are not from Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah, they are called Al-Mu'tazila. The Mu'tazila denied the shafa'ah, and denied the shafa'ah according to a very logical concept. They used in logic. How is that? They said, how can shafa'ah be granted? If the shafa'ah is being granted, it goes against the concept of adala, of justice. They said, according to them, there's one basic principle for them. It's called Allahu sadiqun fi wa'dihi, sadiqun fi wa'idihi. They said Allah is always sadiq. That means He will fulfill. In what? In His wa'd. When He promised you something. Sadiqun fi wa'idih. Al-wa'id, when He warn you about something. Just like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, if you do something good, I will reward you. He will do it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also, He said, if you do something bad, I will punish you. He's also sadiq there. They said, if we put the concept of shafa'ah, we are going against the concept of justice. Because some people who deserve to be punished, what happened? They will receive shafa'ah. And that shafa'ah, it will not let us apply what? The concept of justice. This concept of Al-Mu'tazila regarding denying the shafa'ah completely, it has been rejected by Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah, all of them. We don't have any group or any Imam or any scholar from the Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah that they denying the shafa'ah, that shafa'ah will be granted. When they talk about the concept of justice over here, something that they missing there, who actually will be granting the shafa'ah? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who has the power, the authority to grant shafa'ah or not to grant shafa'ah. So He is the one to decide, and we cannot decide for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala what is just and what it's not just. How can we apply rules on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and we tell Him, no, you have to do it this way? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran clearly, لا يسأل عما يفعل وهم يسألون. Allah cannot be questioned about what He does or what He says, but they will be questioned. That's number one. Number two, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala regarding the reward, He will never take the right of someone that, you know what, you have your right, but I'm not going to give it to you. But where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is doing the shafa'ah, the other part is where? In the punishment. Allah has the power to punish for a person who did something wrong. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has the right to pardon that person if He wants. You may say this is against shafa'ah. No, it's not against the shafa'ah. It is something even higher. Justice. It's something even higher than justice. We know now, even in America, when someone is being ruled for something, like recently, probably you heard that the president, the Trump, he pardoned one of the spy, an Israeli that was in prison since the 80s, and no president before wanted to pardon him until the Trump came, and then he signed it, and now he was being sent, subhanAllah. So according to the Constitution, this is not against justice. It's a pardon that was given, or the power that was given to the president. And that's if we are talking only about the justice of the human being on earth. So imagine when you're talking about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's number one. Number two, remember, when there is a problem, let's say the right of the human being in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the day of judgment, you may say, you know what, this is my right, I have to take it from this person. And that person has to pay me. This is justice. Now that person is not able to pay me. The hadith talks about it, that I could even put from my bad deeds on his shoulders, subhanAllah. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on that day has the power and the authority, what we call it tardiyah. He will tell the person, okay, this is your brother, he made a mistake, and now he's not able to pay you. I will pay on his behalf. I will pay on behalf of your brother. And we have the hadith of Jannah when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tell him, look at the Jannah. He say, who is this? For who? He say, for someone who has the price. He say, who could afford the price? And Allah will tell that person, for whoever forgive his brother. He said, okay, I will forgive him. So that's how it works on the day of judgment, subhanAllah. Now, the shafa'a, again, we know that even on earth, we have the concept of shafa'a. That a person, he do shafa'a for another person. You know, sometimes even grandparents, they do shafa'a for their little children. The father is angry for a little child, right? And he wants to punish him. Now the grandfather, oh, hold on, no, I'm not going to let you do that. What does he do? He does a shafa'a. Is that against justice? No, it's not against justice. It's a kind of love that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He put in the heart of those. Even you, sometimes you do shafa'ah for your little child in front of your husband or your wife or so on. So we know that this concept of shafa'ah is there, and no one is saying this concept is wrong. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has the right in the hereafter to give this shafa'ah, subhanallah. So we talk again about the shafa'ah. Not every shafa'ah could be accepted. Number one, the scholars, they said the shafa'ah only could be for Ahlul Tawheed, the people that they died on Tawheed, they died on La ilaha illallah, that they don't have shirk. Any person who died on shirk, there is no shafa'ah for them. Why? Because it's very simple. They went over the right of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, one of His rights, that you worship only Him and no one else. So if you are taking that right, who is going to do the shafa'ah for you here? For the right of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that you violate the right of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that He is the only one to be worshipped. That's number one. People who denies Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala completely, let's say atheists, how can shafa'ah will be given to them? And this is a question that is always raised, especially among the young people. And I got that question most of the time. They will say, oh, I know a person, he's a nice person, he's a kind person, he's a generous person. He is a person that he doesn't do anything wrong, right? But the only wrong thing that he does not believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I saw that person, he's doing this, he's doing that. How come this person is going to go to the hellfire? And the concept over here about shafa'ah also, who is going to give him shafa'ah? Who? Now, when you're talking about his deeds in this dunya, he's generous, let's say. Sometimes we talk about certain A or B, he gives billions or millions of dollars for charity. And then sometimes we keep talking about, look how he does, and Muslims, they don't do that, people don't do that. Hold on. When you do something, you do it for a purpose, right? For a reason, for a goal, or to someone. So when these people, they do these good deeds, they do it for who? Any of them is doing it for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then how they are expecting Allah to reward them for something that they did not do it for Him? It just does not make no sense. You know, in our lifetime, let's say I am a student, right? And I did some homework that the teacher didn't ask me for it. And he is my teacher, and I still accept him as my teacher. And I say, I'm not going to grade you for this. Why? Because I didn't ask you for it. Now imagine I took the homework, and I am in 6th grade, and I took it to someone who is in 10th grade. He doesn't even know me. I am not his teacher. He does not acknowledge me as his teacher. Say, this is the homework, grade me for. So what are you talking about? You did not do it for me. So how come anyone who is living in this life, doing some deed or good deed according to them, he does not do it for Allah, how are you expecting Allah to reward him for it? It does not make no sense at all. Another example that some of the scholars also give, they said, imagine that they are a family, a father, and has few children. Now among those children, right, one of them, he denies his father, right? So he was bad to his father. He doesn't even acknowledge him at all. And the other 3, they were good with the father, subhanAllah. Now, and that one, he went over, for example. He doesn't respect his father. He doesn't talk to him. He doesn't see him. He just ignore him. Now, the other 3 brothers who are good, how do you look at the other one? You guys, if you have a brother like that, how do you look at him? How do you see him? How do you think that he deserves the pardon of the father? and you told him, that's your father. You say, I don't take him as a father. I don't see him as a father. I don't want to talk to him. I don't acknowledge him. You see how is it? Now it's the same. We, the human being, some of us accept Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as their own God, and some deny him. So how come in the hereafter you're going to ask shafa'ah for that person? It will not make no sense. So we said only Ahlul Tawheed, they will deserve the shafa'ah and nobody else. Ahlul Tawheed are levels, by the way. Some of the shafa'ahs will be for the people that they already entered enter Jahannam. And then someone will come to do shafa'ah for them, that they will come out. And that could be granted. Number two, some people that they will be at the moment of going on the sirat. And some of them, they will receive shafa'ah. And some of them, they will be at the doors of Jannah. And the doors are not being opened. And some of them, they will have shafa'ah to open the doors of Jannah. I mean, the details in the ayahs and the hadith, but I have only 1 minute to go for it. So we know now that the concept of shafa'ah, number one, it is different types of shafa'ah, who deserve it, who does not deserve it, and how it works in the hereafter, subhanAllah. When sometimes we are confusing some of the hadiths. When you say, for example, a person who memorized the Quran, just an example, that he will be able to grant shafa'ah up to 10 people or 100 people or whatever. You got to be very careful again about the hadith and the intensity of the hadith. Which one is sahih, who's not sahih. And you will find sometimes something very interesting, that half of the hadith is sahih, and the ziyada and some adding on the hadith is not sahih. So the person who memorized the Quran, the memorize of the Quran, the hadith what it says, is it just memorize the Quran, or he memorized the Quran and وَعَمِلَ بِهِ, and he use it and he act upon it, that he will be able to be a shafi' for a certain number of his families. Subhanallah. So we get to be very careful. But we don't deny the shafa'ah, number one. We don't deny the shafa'ah. The last part, and just the last part. Can anyone else be a shafi' for me? Yes, subhanallah. Yes. That we have the hadith of Ubadah ibn Samit, radiallahu anhu, that somebody asked him, is there shafa'ah? And if there is, I would ask you on that day that you grant me your shafa'ah. And Ubadah ibn Samit agreed, and he said, yes, there will be shafa'ah. And if I will be granted the shafa'ah on that day, I will help, and I will grant you my shafa'ah, subhanallah. The Quran also, and the hadith talks about even friends that they may be able to be shafi'ah for. And the Quran talks about that when you say, on the day of judgment, some people will look around and say, some of our brothers, we don't see them with us. We don't see them with us. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He will tell, go and look for your friend or your brother in Jahannam. If you find him, and if he is from the people who could be qualified for shafa'ah, they will deserve shafa'ah. The last point I mentioned, even we know that in janazah, and we said when a person, you go and you offer janazah, your salat janazah, your dua, it's a kind of what? Of shafa'ah. How is that? Because when you make dua for him, it's what? It's a request from you to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, oh Allah, forgive my brother. It's a shafa'ah that you are requesting, and it's up to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept it or reject it. And that's why we say in janazah, when there's a big number, probably one of those people, his dua is acceptable, meaning his shafa'ah is being acceptable. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive all of us. واستغفر الله لكم جميع المؤمنين. If you have any comments or questions, inshallah. Yes, brother.
Besides this topic, if nobody has any question, Friday khutbah you said about the inheritance law.
Yes.
So in this country, if we do not make will, the money will go to the city.
Exactly.
So in this situation, what we have to do?
That's the purpose of my khutbah, that you have to write your will before you die. You have to. It's a must. If you are in a different country, you don't have to, because that's the law of the country. Even if they are not applying the Islamic rules, but at least for the inheritance, they are doing so. In this country, it is a must on you, if you have money, that you have to write your will. If you don't and you die, you will be accountable for it. You are the one. Imagine you die and the money, let's say husband and wife, it goes to the wife. Or it goes to the husband. And the children will inherit nothing. Unless the mother accepts. Now if the mother doesn't want to, they will be deprived from their rights. And who deprived them? It's not the mother only, it's the person who died. You say, oh, I didn't know. And that's the only problem that always say, I don't know, I don't know. We know everything, how to use a phone, how to move a car, but it is a must on a person to write his will, as long as he has something to be inherited. One more thing also that you mentioned, very important, which is probably lawyers knows more about it. When your wealth exceed like $1 million in this country, what happened? The government will take over. Even if your wife will not take everything. So the government will take a big part of it. But once you write your will, it goes automatically the way you wished to happen. Yes, ma'am.
This is on the issue of shafaq. So we know that the Prophet he was given permission to intercede for his uncle to get a lesser place in Jahannam, if I'm not mistaken.
Continue.
Right, so he was granted shafaq for that, right?
I cannot say yes.
Do you know about this issue?
The hadith that you said, yes, that I think one of, he asked Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam that your uncle was so, is there anything that you could do for him? He said he will have the least of the punishment, and the least of the punishment, it will be what? Some kind of burning shoes, if you want, that it will boil until it reach his brain. So that's, if you're talking about this hadith, yes. But now the hadith here, the shafa'a is not taking him out from...
Yeah, I understand.
Okay, because he is from Ahlul Shirk.
Yeah. You know, and my question is, would that apply to other non-Muslims, like your kind of us or whatever?
Very good question. Very good question, but it's a more technical question. Are we also, we Ahlul Tawheed, am I going to be granted the same right that Rasulullah will be granted if my father or my mom or my uncle, they died as a kuffar? I cannot say yes, because it's a mas'ala mawqufa. So the hadith talks about Rasulullah himself. Why I'm saying so? The other hadith of Abu Lahab, that it says, and this hadith, by the way, is not 100% sahih, that although especially like the Sufis, the Brelwis, they bring it all the time, that every Monday Abu Lahab is being granted like some water that will come for him. And the reason, it says that because on the day where Rasulullah was born, Abu Lahab, he freed the slave called Thuwayba. So it says, Ja'atna fil athar, it was narrated in the athar that even Abu Lahab is being granted this, even without the shafa' of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because he did something in the past. This hadith, again, what I want to say, even if we take this hadith is right, is that the same for me if some women breastfeed me, right, and she died as a kafira, that she would be granted the same right? It is very difficult to say yes. It's very specific, technical thing of the rights of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Just another, for the Greek, from my understanding, if non-believers, they do good, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward them in this life.
Yes.
And at the same time, even in that good, like some non-believers, they believe in God, and sometimes they do things for...
Yes.
But they do shirk.
Yes.
So this, you know.
Okay. One thing which is very important again for us. I cannot say that anyone who died as a mushrik, he will be treated, all of them, they will be treated equally. There's a difference between a person who died a mushrik and he never received the message clear. Let's say people of the book, let's say Christians. Some people, they never received a clear picture about who is Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I don't know, there are billions of people. Do you think all of them, they know and they learn about the Prophet equally? Or they lived and died with some image, or they never heard about it? So those that they never heard about it, I cannot apply that because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَمَا كُنَّا مُعَذِّبِينَ حَتَّى نَبْعَثَ رَسُولًا. And we will not punish anyone unless we send him a messenger. That messenger could be a prophet, a messenger, or a human being, that he will deliver the message to that person clearly. If I don't deliver the message and nobody delivered the message, how I'm going to assume that that person will be punished, right? Or accountable the same like the people who are being accountable. And that's why we know now that, for example, the more knowledge you are, the more accountable you are, right? And even about the age, a child who is under age of puberty, he is less than a person who's, age of puberty. Why? Because he reaches status, he reaches a level. So the same for all the people. Allah is adil in this concept. He would not. There's an ayah also, وَمَا كَانَ اللَّهُ لِيُضِيعَ إِيمَانَكُمْ إِنَّ اللَّهَ بِالنَّاسِ لَرَؤُوفٌ رَحِيمٌ. This ayah came on the concept when it talks about the Qibla. Just a question over here. That some of the people of the book said, you are changing the Qibla. And you are saying that the old Qibla is not the real Qibla. It is wrong. Right? So they said, what do you think about the people who lived and died praying to the other Qibla? Like Hamza radiallahu anhu. And say, you know what? They were praying to the wrong Qibla. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَمَا كَانَ اللَّهُ لِيُضِيعَ إِيمَانَ. Iman here means amal also. إِنَّ اللَّهَ بِالنَّاسِ لَرَؤُوفٌ رَحِيمٌ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't put in loss any of the amal of any human being. Any human being. If he does it for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if it's not for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, like you said, they will be rewarded in this dunya in different ways. Again, it's an unseen, it's kind of ilm of ghaybiyat, which is Allah knows more about that, subhanallah.
Brother, if you are not late, one question.
Yes.
لا يتكلمون إلا من أذل له الرحمن وقال صواب. Is related with the Shiva?
Yes. Of course, he say لا يتكلمون. Nobody will be allowed to speak, to talk on behalf of someone إلا من أذن له, except those the people that will be given the permission, ورضي له, and Allah is pleased with him that he will be allowed. So not anyone on the day of judgment say, oh, I want to stand for this. No, not everyone. Not everyone is qualified. And we know that. So people has maqamat, has levels, and those maqamats and levels because of this dunya, because of the amal of this dunya. And that's why we know that even in the akhirah, the very famous hadith of Shafa'ah of the Prophet ﷺ, they went to Nuh, they went to Adam, they went to Ibrahim, and each one of them, what he said, I did something, or he said, I already asked for something. For example, Sulaiman alayhi salam, he said, he made a da'wah, right? He said, oh Allah, give me a mulk that you didn't give to anyone before me. And Ibrahim made a dua for that, رَبِّ اجْعَلْ هَذَا الْبَلَدَ آمِنًا وَارْزُقْ أَهْلَهُ مِنَ الثَّمَرَاتِ مَنْ آمَنَ مِنْهُمْ بِاللَّهِ وَالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ. He made a dua. And each one of the Prophet and Messenger, he had a dua, or he had a request, or he made some shafa'ah. And Rasulullah in another hadith said, وَخَبَّأْتُ دعوتي and I saved my da'wah for my ummah for the day of judgment. So we know for that everyone will have according to his level, to his status, to his amal, subhanallah. May Allah forgive all of us. La ilaha illallah. Yes.
One thing is Shifa is like a lawyer. Even in the world, nobody can stand for someone unless
The judge, yes, and the judge agree. That's true. The same concept there. لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له له الملك وله الحمد يحيي ويميت وهو حي لا يموت بيده الخير وإليه المصير وعلى كل شيء قدير اللهم ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين جزاكم الله خيرا السلام عليكم ورحمة الله